What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Time DFS NBA live stream. John Impemba here with James Grande, previewing Friday's main slate here. It's DeMarcus Cousins Day. It's Ante Zizic Day. We also have Nikola Vucevic against the Nets. Center's a mess for us. Mess for me. I'm the one making lineups. Yeah. I don't know where to go. James, how are you feeling about today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, 6 to 9 games, we say it. That's the wheelhouse. Yep. I've actually liked 5-game slates this year as well, so I'll go like 5 to 9 games.
Had a good 5-gamer the other day. So.
I think this is a fun slate. Big totals, small totals, value. There's finally some value. I mean, I feel like the last couple nights the value has been scarce, and if there was value, it's been horrible. Norman Powell, 60% owned last night, played about 15 minutes and ruined everyone's lineup. 2 nights ago, all the chalk was horrible. Or 3 nights ago, rather. 2 nights ago, the chalk was rather good for me. I'm feeling good about the slate. And Ante Zizic is gonna break the slate, and I can't wait.
Currently, our projected highest owned player tonight is Ante Zizic against Rudy Gobert in Utah.
Real.
Currently, our highest projected player. So, good luck to everybody with that play. It's gonna be a scary ride. Playing the Zizic chalk. But what are we looking at for injuries here? We just got news Josh Richardson's out. That was pretty big. Now we're just sort of waiting on the Heat lineup to see who's starting ahead of him.
Right.
But what else are we looking at here for injuries?
I mean, we're really not waiting on anything. We know Richardson's out. We know Ellington's in. We're waiting on Harkless, and we know Tyler Johnson's in. Those are really the only significant plays. Mo Bamba is playing tonight as well. If you want to really dumpster dive, when you could just play Nikola Vucevic, I'm not sure why, but that's really it in terms of injuries. When we move over to Vegas, I wish we capitalized on that Brooklyn Orlando opening at 1,000. It's still there. Still should have taken the under. But 217 Orlando 1.5 point favorites at home. Boston, Memphis hasn't moved a lot. It's up to 207.5 from 206, but still 10.5 point favorites at home for Boston. Miami, Detroit 206.5. Detroit is 2.5 point favorites. San Antonio, Minnesota has moved a little bit, up 1.5 to 227. Weird to see the Spurs in a total like that, but they also don't play much defense. At least they don't play any defense like they have in years past. Minnesota point favorite at home. And then Cleveland, Utah, 215. Utah, 15.5 point favorites. 15. Yeah. Yes. In Utah, I don't know if that game is close after 1 quarter. It might be over after 1 quarter. But still, Ante Zizic is going to play all the minutes, so that's glorious for us. New Orleans, Portland, 233.5. And that is the second highest total on the slate. Portland, 2.5 point favorites. And Golden State Warriors happen to be on the slate. I don't know if you heard of them, but they have 5 All-Stars. They have 5 potential Hall of Famers. Yeah. And they are traveling to Clippers, and they're 7-point favorites, 242 total. As you mentioned, DeMarcus Cousins will be returning tonight and is underpriced on everything, but I learned he is $11,000 on Fanball. So if you are a Fanball player, please don't play DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, no kidding. It's going to be interesting to see the slate breaks down. Like I said, I'm still waiting on some updates on ownership to see how if we get any movement on those lines, because I was actually expecting Cousins to be a little bit higher owned than what we have him projected as. So that'll be interesting. I mean, again, our projections are based off large field GPPs, so Zizic having such high ownership is really depressing the rest of that center position. But even then, we have Cousins at around 5% ownership. The thing is, Steve Kerr said that there's not going to be a minutes restriction. They're going to monitor his minutes. He's going to play in bursts. So right. In my opinion, I think he's probably the first sub. He probably plays the first 6 minutes, doesn't play again probably until the second quarter. Maybe he finishes the second quarter for 6 minutes, and he plays around like 25 minutes in a day. Something in that range. But he's like a 1.5 fantasy point per minute player. So you give him 25 minutes, and he can put up 40 fantasy points. Normally, this is the Warriors. Right. There are plenty of other mouths to feed in that situation as well. James, before we start off, obviously we have to, either talk about a sponsor or talk about the deals we have going on Fantasy Alarm right now. And today, we are giving a shout out to the MLB season, of course, because it is baseball year round, it seems like. Yes, this is an NBA live stream. We know some of you also play fantasy baseball. If you want to win a championship, join the FA family with the MLB season package. You get Jim Bowden's fantasy baseball draft guide with rankings, sleepers, rookies, busts, and front office breakdowns for every team in the major leagues from the GM himself and Howard Bender, plus over 50 other features from the Fantasy Alarm team. Then use our personal help all season long. You get experts in live chat for 12 hours a day during your draft, during the season, plus dozens of other features and custom tools to help you win. Go to fantasyalarm.com/MLB season. Use the promo code LIVE to get an additional 25% off the making of the entire season for just $75. That's fantasyalarm.com/MLB season. Promo code LIVE to get the entire season for $75. Great deal there. Check it out. A lot of content being published. We just had producer Matt Sells put out a 10,000 word, 15-page. What was it? Where new faces, old faces, new places article, something like that. Crazy. We have new player profiles going out every single day. So you got to check out the content there. We're getting you ready to make a lot of money here in your fantasy baseball seasons. But that is out of the way, James. So let's hit it up. Start off at point guard. Steph Curry's the top price guy. As we mentioned, the Cousins factor is interesting. I just don't know how it's going to impact rotations, how it would impact Curry. Like, I still feel like when he's on the floor, he's going to try to get his shots because they want to work him in and get him sort of acclimated. So that being said, I think unless you're stacking this game, I don't think I'm going to have Warriors shares. It's a great game to stack. But I would much rather play Lillard in this matchup against New Orleans, who's cheaper than Curry, and in a quote-unquote better matchup, we'll say.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think you can play any Warrior, but specifically for tournaments. I don't think you play any of them in cash because we just don't know who's going to be impacted the most, the least. If anyone's impacted at all, I mean, it just might become a juggernaut even more than it already is, like this offense. So I limit that to tournaments, even though the 242 total is very hard to fade in like a cash game format. But I'm with you. We'd like nothing more other than attacking broken centers and attacking Pelicans' wings. So Alfred Payton defense.
I looked it up. I think he had like a 117 defensive rating last year.
It's good. It's really good.
A little bit better this year, but I mean, like, still terrible defender. So, for me, Lillard's one of our highest projected owned players. I think he's your cash game spend up at point guard tonight. If you're going in that direction, you can use him in tournaments too. This guy's a 230, 3 you said, 234 total, just a 2-point spread. And Lillard's playing well right now. You look at his last 3 games, in terms of actual scoring, 33, 35, and 26. Those fantasy points could have been higher in some of those games had he gotten more steals. He's usually, around a steal plus per game guy. A couple of those games he didn't have any. So, again, I like this matchup a lot for Lillard if we're paying up. But that's, like, it really for me in terms of, like, top-tier guys that I'm looking at. And then even the mid-tier is still a little iffy to me. I think my next guy I would even look at would probably be Alf Payton on the flip side. But how are you feeling sort of with that top half of the point guard position?
I'm kind of with you. I'm more in the middle tier. I think Alf Payton makes a lot of sense, especially because I think this game is probably the best game to stack if you're not stacking the Warriors game. I mean, Lillard averages 3 turnovers per game. Alfred Payton is not a great defender personally, but he is good in the passing lanes. He is averaging over a steal per game. He's done that for basically every year he's been in the league. So I think there's some upside for Payton, who we're finally seeing play 30 minutes a game as well. So I'm with you. I don't think we need to go up in this top tier. Like Kyrie's in a pace down like disaster spot that could be a blowout. D'Angelo Russell, I mean, he's shooting guard eligible. Mike Conley against Boston, not a chance. Like I get it because there's no Kyle Anderson. He has all the ball handling responsibility, but I mean, he hasn't even been great lately. I do like the price tag, but he's their best perimeter scorer, which means Marcus Smart defense is looming. So, why would we spend up there when we could just go down and get Peyton for probably same upside as Mike Conley, probably even
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
you're
more.
just looking at the two games. It's a 205 total in Memphis,
Right.
and it's a 11-point spread. They're in Boston. Yeah, it just seems difficult for me to think that game stays competitive long enough for Conley to really hit value at 8K. Peyton at 5,800, I like. I still like Derek White. Again, he plays more shooting guard than he does point guard. Listed as a point guard in FanDuel and point guard shooting guard over on DraftKings. So I think you can go White again here. And then we drop down, to the next tier. For me, DJ Augustine is someone I like here against Brooklyn. I almost think his cash game's viable. I know you've sort of been the Augustine whisperer here. How do you feel about him against Brooklyn?
I mean, he's just been steady, and the minutes have been the best part about it all. I mean, earlier in the year, we saw him kind of splitting time with Jaren Grant, but 32-31, 27-30, outlier against Sacramento in a blowout, 19, but then 25-31, 25-38. So he's guaranteed minutes. Brooklyn is not a good defensive team. They rank 19th in defensive efficiency on the year. I have no problem playing Augustine. I mentioned on the podcast, I think this is probably like the peak price I would want to pay and feel comfortable with paying. I don't know if there's tremendous upside at this upper 4 to 5K range, but I mean he has put up a couple 40-point games in the past. And again, I mentioned Brooklyn's a bad defensive team, so I'm fine with it for all formats. Would you consider pivoting to Tyler Johnson over Augustine if he was deemed a starter?
I'd consider it, especially FanDuel where he's $3,900.
39 on both. 39 on both.
Right. Augustine's 5K, so you're getting the $1,100 savings on Johnson. I put Johnson in the playbook today. I think he was sort of in play, even if he's coming off the bench, just because Richardson being out and Wayne Ellington's active, but he's playing less than 10 minutes a night.
Right.
So him active, I don't think is going to all of a sudden move the needle. Whereas Johnson's still playing, pretty consistently mid 20s minutes. So I still think Tyler Johnson is a fine play off the bench at that price. Other guys that are priced over in FanDuel that we talk about a little bit. Brent Forbes is $4,400. A guy that's again been steady. He's a steady guy for them. Price is okay there. Javon Carter is someone that you've pointed out. I think he is only valuable if we think this game does get blown out, though.
Right.
That's where we saw him get a lot of the run. He started against Houston, and then they took him out after 14 minutes, and he never really played again. But he did see 28 minutes against Milwaukee in that blowout. So if Boston blows him out, Javon Carter is a guy we can look at. Shabazz Napier is intriguing to me because he was playing in their rotation, getting 20 to 25 minutes a night, and then he pulled his hamstring and he missed the Boston game, and then he only played 8 minutes against Houston. And I want to believe that it's probably the hamstring may not have been full go, but also guys like Spencer Dinwiddie and Graham had really good games, and maybe that kept Napier off the floor. So in GPPs at 3,700 on FanDuel, just $200 above bin price. I don't mind Napier here against Orlando, possibly playing 25 minutes again.
I mean, I think it just has to, we mentioned it yesterday, there was just no point to put him on the floor with Dinwiddie just going bonkers in the fourth and overtime. So, I mean, do we expect Spencer Dinwiddie to be the best player in the NBA again tonight? No. So I think there is a path for Napier as well.
Over at shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell's the top price guy on FanDuel, but we said 15.5-point spread. I understand that if they're going to win by that much, it's probably because Mitchell's getting them there. But if he plays 28 minutes, is he going to get you the 45, 50 fantasy points you need? It's going to be a stretch.
Right.
So for me, it just makes sense to pivot the $200 down and play Drew Holiday against Portland, where we know that he's a lock for 40 every single night. He has a ceiling of 60, and a matchup, like we said, with a 230 total. We can attack the Portland guards. It's a 2-point spread here. I'm in on Drew Holiday as my top shooting guard.
I mean, how long have we been talking about him just giving us 40 to 45, 45 to 50 fantasy points? It's been months. It might have been since October when the season started.
The thing is, we don't often are able to put him in our lineups because the Pelicans and Rockets have played together now, not against each other, but on the same slate for so long.
Yeah, right.
That we've had to play James Harden, and we've had to spend down at shooting guard, not really allowing us to take advantage of Holiday here. But even though Anthony Davis is on the slate, it opens up shooting guard, and I think it allows us to pay up for Holiday in this spot.
I think the most encouraging part of it all is even with Mirotic coming back, 22, 24, 19 shot attempts. Like the shot attempts haven't gone away. They've only risen since Mirotic has come back, and that's obviously great news because they have four guys that could honestly hog the ball at any point in the game. So I mean,
yeah, we had a question in chat about DeMar DeRozan. What are your thoughts on him against Minnesota tonight?
I mean, it's a really good total, and he's realistically playing small forward right now because they're starting Forbes and White side by side. And where do you attack Minnesota? You attack them at the small forward position. They currently rank 27th in DVP against small forwards. So 227 total. The Spurs are getting the massive pace-up spot here against Minnesota. Minnesota's 21st in defensive efficiency overall. I think this is an elite play for someone that we're generally looking at over 8K and sometimes approaching 9K. I mean, he's only 7-8 on DraftKings. I think this is an elite tournament pivot off of guys like Holiday and Mitchell.
Does it bother you at all that you look at his last couple of games here against Dallas, against Charlotte, only 14 actual points, playing 39 minutes in both games? Like, he is a player that we've seen a ceiling. We've seen him go off for higher, overall scoring. But for whatever reason lately, the shots haven't been falling, but the peripheral numbers have been there. So if we get a bounce-back shooting night out of DeRozan here in a matchup that I agree is one to take advantage of, I think it's a good spot. I don't think he's going to be very highly owned. I think a lot of people will find the money to pay up for a Holiday, to pay up for Mitchell, or just spend down because there's some guys that are interesting matchups below. We've seen D'Angelo Russell in a good matchup here, and he's been going off of late. He's $600 cheaper on FanDuel than DeRozan. Lou Williams, CJ McCollum in that same matchup against New Orleans. So there's some interesting guys below. What do you think of sort of this next tier down on FanDuel and on DraftKings? I know some of those guys are also sort of similarly tiered.
So you asked me about Andrew Wiggins before the live stream, like what are my thoughts? And he's just always a GPP play to me more than anything. But like thinking of the matchups, like if Derek White is on him, he has the size advantage. He has the athleticism to just sky over White in any situation in the post, on the glass. And then DeRozan is also a poor defender if that becomes the matchup as well. So I think he's a really good tournament play. Am I forcing him in? No, but 6K is really cheap on DraftKings. Like we're looking for 30. This is a guy who just gave us 40 actual points not too long ago. I understand there were some injuries with Teague and Rose. But another guy who's not afraid to shoot, and if his shot starts to fall, I mean, we could be looking at a big night. So he's probably my favorite guy from this mid-tier. I don't love Williams. I don't love Russell, but you can play both of them in tournaments always.
Yeah.
I think
Williams, for me, is a guy that just always plays very well against Golden State. He's averaging 40 fantasy points against them on the season in 28 minutes. And I think they realize that to, keep up with Golden State, they need Lou Willow's offense in the lineup. And that's why he gets maybe a little bit more run. So in GPPs, I agree with you. I just saw you check your phone, so you probably saw the same update I did. Do you want to tell the people what's going on with Miami?
Tyler Johnson is in the starting lineup tonight, alongside Justice Winslow in the backcourt. So
for $3,900, we can get Tyler Johnson in the starting lineup tonight.
You play him over Augustine in cash games.
I agree. I think you play him over Augustine in cash games for sure and save the money. Yes, I definitely agree with you. What do you think his upside is, though? Because, I mean, like, he's going to be playing off the ball, and Winslow's still – I assume Winslow's still point guard, right? Like, they're not – they have listed. So you have Johnson as a shooting guard. Winslow as holding the point guard down. What do you project in terms of minutes for him tonight?
So I think it ultimately – honestly, it's going to ultimately depend on Deion Waiters, I think. Like, I think Johnson's minutes – kind of hinge on Waiters. If Spoelstra is going to give in to Waiters, chatter from the other day where he says it's time, get me in, all these expletives, blah blah blah. If Spoelstra just says, heck, the heck with Waiters, let's just play the rest of the team, then he's going to play 30 minutes. So I think I would probably not give him any more, like 25. I think we could probably safely project him at. But it is nice that he's with the starting unit,
I agree.
for sure.
It's
So
odd. It's actually odd that in the 4 times he started this year, he's only played 22 minutes a game, but he's averaging 13.8 points per game. Whereas in his 31 games off the bench, he's averaging 25 minutes and averaging 10 points per game. So he's averaging more points per game and less minutes in his 4 times starting. I don't know. Maybe he just gets on the floor as a starter and trucks. But that said, still like him. Still think he's fine play, especially at that price. Especially on FanDuel, where at 3,900, if he doesn't hit for you, then it's not a total lineup killer. Jumping back over though, the shooting guard here, Terrence Ross. I have in GPP lineups tonight against Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn's been decent against shooting guards this year. But Ross is just kind of on fire right now, and he's a guy that we like to ride his hot streaks. And I think I mentioned the playbook. We're probably a little bit late to the party here with him, but I'm still willing to give it another shot here. He's playing around 30 minutes a night. We know he's a really good scorer. Are you going with your boy again?
5 straight games, double figures, 5 straight games with a steal. He's actually getting peripheral stats, which is generally not his, cup of tea. He comes in and scores, and he sits down on the bench. So long as he's going to play 30 minutes, sure. 28.6 minutes over his last 5. He's hit 29 in 4 straight. Yeah, I think it's pricey. Absolutely. Can he burn us? Can our lineup sink as fast as he can bring us to the top? Sure. Yeah. But I don't think it's a bad play because he could just score. He could just flat out score the basketball.
Yeah. Tyler Johnson being in the starting lineup, I think bodes well for the next man here in Dwayne Wade.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes him the point guard for the second unit, which is great. Again, he's probably only going to play around the 25 minutes a night that he sees around on average anyways, but this is a really good matchup for him. He has, like a 30-point ceiling, but I think he's going to also safely get you 20-plus fantasy points. So, we're not getting old Wade here, with the game-breaking upside. But this is a matchup where I expect him to do well in. So, $5,000 over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Wade's priced out at $4,800. So, again, I think it's a good spot here to take advantage of Wade. And you mentioned Waiters. Again, I'm sure there are more guys in between, but it also makes me think that Waiters is going to get minutes tonight because, as I said, Ellington hasn't really been playing, and the fact that Johnson is starting makes me think that when Wade goes on the floor to play point guard, Waiters could go on the floor to be the shooting guard and get minutes that way. So I think Waiters at $3,700 on FanDuel and on DraftKings. I think he might even be a little bit cheaper. He is $3,500. Both of them in play for me in Miami. It's rare that I love playing so many Miami Heat players, but against Detroit and sort of attacking the guards, I think we're in play.
Yeah, man. Let the slate dictate who we play.
Yeah.
So it just falls in. Yeah, it falls in. It's the perfect storm for Heat guards today. The Heat. I think it's just the Heat. Even though that total is pretty low, I think everyone on the Heat is really kind of in play here.
What other shooting guards are you taking a look at?
Korver for tournaments.
Yeah.
Bullock. Yeah. 3-point bonus is nice. Bullock for tournaments. Other than that, most of the guys that I could play on DraftKings are small forward eligible on FanDuel.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give one shout out to Alec Burks and Revenge Narrative. I know that game has a 15-point spread, but I still think he's worth probably a look at the very least. Small forward Kevin Durant's at the top again. Unless you're stacking this Golden State Clippers game, I don't feel like I can trust the situation enough to be paying almost $11K for Kevin Durant tonight. I know the matchup's great, and he's averaging an insane amount of fantasy points against the Clippers this year. In 2 games, he's averaging almost 70 fantasy points. One of those games was without Curry, so take that for what it's worth as well. But are you interested in paying up again, or do you feel the same way I do? Kind of like we said with Curry, it's sort of like a GPP only stack, wait and see approach here.
That is my approach with every Warrior tonight. It is GPP stack, wait and see. I'm not playing them in cash. All of them. I'm just gonna, if they burn me tonight, they burn me tonight. But it's just there's 5 Hall of Famers on a basketball court on one team. It's going to be very hard to figure out what's going on for the first couple of games.
I agree with you. I mean, that's how I'm attacking it. Thoughts on Gallinari, $7,200 against Golden State?
He's been good against them. He's been good really all year. I mean, he's coming off a bad game against Utah, but everyone was bad for the Clippers in that game outside of Lou Williams. So I think he's fine. I mean, he's been 35 fantasy points against the Warriors in 2 games. It's going to be a nice pace, and there's a 240 total. So he's fine. Justice
Winslow, I said pretty much right this morning, was one of my locks of the day.
Yep.
Him and Vucevic were my 2 favorite plays. $7,000 over on FanDuel. He is $6,800 on DraftKings. Again, he's the de facto starting point guard right now with Dragic out. He put up 30 fantasy points against Detroit earlier this year while having a bad shooting night. Shot just 3 for 10 from the field. But again, you look at his recent play over on DraftKings, at least 36, 43, and 40 fantasy points. Winslow for me in this matchup against Detroit is one of my top plays.
Yeah, as long as the scoring continues, I mean, he's going to be an elite play. We've never seen this type of scoring output over his last 4 games, 17.5 points per game, 19 and 26 his last 2. So, and he's hitting threes, two or more threes in 3 straight games. So we know the peripherals are going to be there, especially with him running the point. I mean, we just saw an 11 assists a game not too long ago against your beloved Celtics. So if the scoring comes with it, he's an elite play, and I think it does because, Richardson is someone who commands a lot of usage. So it's a really strong play. 22% usage for Winslow with Josh Richardson off the floor, which is about what I'd expect and probably even a little better, to be perfectly honest, because he's never been a guy who honestly shoots the ball very much. So
I agree. Below them, we actually have Joe Ingles as one of the higher owned players of the slate tonight. To me, that's interesting just because it is the 15.5 point spread, and he's $6,400 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's priced at $58. I know the matchup's good and everything like that, and they're at home, and he's been playing really well himself. But it's just tough for me to trust a lot of those guys in that game because that 15.5 point spread is pretty daunting to look at.
Wouldn't you just rather spend down on Jay Crowder from the same team at the same position?
I feel like that would be a better option. I mean, Royce O'Neal and FanDuel, all 3 of those guys are small.
Right. And they're both cheaper. And they're both cheaper than Ingles.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to play than Ingles if this game becomes a blowout.
Right. Are you chasing Mirotic points?
I think you can.
Is he playing power forward or is he playing small forward when he gets on the floor? Do we know that?
They're doing it's 1 off, 1 on. So it's Randall's on. 2 of the 3 are always on the floor.
Fair enough.
So there's always one playing power forward, always one playing center.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, obviously, if this is a small forward matchup for Mirotic, we'd love it even better against Portland because they're terrible against small forwards, especially if Harkless ended up playing it out, just a terrible defender. And Turner, okay, but not great in terms of defense. But still, Mirotic, 6,200, had 45 fantasy points against Golden State. Can't really trust the 45 again, but, I mean, he went for over 20 in the previous 2 games. So if he's going to play close to 30 minutes, I still think there's some upside there for him. And then, as you mentioned, after that, it sort of jumps down. There's Jay Crowder. There's Joe Harris. Rudy Gay was in the starting 5, and he's sort of intriguing to me today. I want to know the minutes for him because he came back after an extended layoff. He only played 22, and if you really look at his minutes heading into the injury, it was 24, 26, 23, 20. So, is he playing mid-20s minutes now? Is that what we're getting out of Rudy Gay at this point? Because, I mean, kind of limits some of his upside, but this is still a decent little matchup for him against Minnesota.
I think the emergence of all the point guards has really hurt him because they're just now playing 3 guards at all times. And then when they go big, it's oh, well, sorry, Rudy, you're now off the floor because we're playing White, we're playing Forbes, we have Aldridge, we have Pirtle, we have Powell, you're not needed. So I'm kind of with you. GPP's only for me. The price tag is what's nice. Like he's only 5,200 and 51, I think, on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So like that's fine. But like, would you rather that or go down to Rodney Hood in a revenge game for 4,300, who's been pretty damn good the last two games, especially scoring the basketball. I mean, 18 and 20 actual points for $1,000 less on DraftKings.
No, that's a good point. I think Hood's in a good spot. Again, I like both Brooklyn guys. Mark Carroll, if he plays the 30 minutes, I think he's in a really great spot. We just don't know. He's played it the last two games and he got production. 2 games before that, he played 20 minutes and we got nothing. So,
what about Trayvon Graham? Still starting.
Yeah, I know. And the minutes have been there. He had I don't know how much he was helped out by like just that insanely high scoring game that he got there, because the games before that weren't very good. But I mean, he is starting in the minutes there. I like Derek Jones here for Miami. Again, I think with that rotation, knowing Richardson's out, this is a kid that when he gets on the floor, he's productive. He's actually averaging over a fantasy point per minute this year. When it's like a combination of like Dragic and Richardson are off the floor. So I mean, for me, I think Jones is a guy that I like, and in blowouts he gets minutes as well. So I think Jones is pretty cheap at small forward. Another guy you can throw in there. Then Aubrey Caspi, he's in the rotation as it is, and then when they got blown up the other night, he played all of the minutes. So I think almost a similar scenario could be had tonight, where they're going into Boston as double-digit dogs, and he's going to be in the rotation regardless. And if they get blown out, he may play 30 minutes again. I like him a lot. He's very cheap. And he's in a lot of my lineups tonight just as a value option in GPPs.
Agreed. I'm hoping they get out to an early lead so we could just see a lot of Caspi. I'm ready to power through power forward and center here, Johnny boy.
Yeah, I know. We're running a little bit behind, but start off power forward Anthony Davis. Got to play him, right?
Got to play him. Got to play him.
You just have to. This is we talked about it on the podcast. This is when James Harden's on the slate, we give you all these reasons why you hate James Harden yet. Well, Anthony Davis has been doing the exact same thing. It's just that nobody's really paying attention because everybody's just honoring over what James Harden's doing. But Anthony Davis is over here like, hey, guys, I'm putting up 80 points a night too. Like, come take a look at me. So tonight we all get to play Anthony Davis. And tonight he's going to trip on the chair as he gets on the floor for warm-ups, skin his knee, and sit on the bench.
Skin his knee.
Right? Like, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 7:05. And he's gonna like stub a toe, and that'll be the night because that's the difference. That's why we all play James Harden, because we're terrified of Anthony Davis. I tried to find an image of Davis today on Getty for our playbook, and a lot of them were just him on the ground. And I'm just like, no, like
walking back to the
trainers, just like never a good looking photo for him. But you have to play him tonight. Portland, great spot. Tier below them though, where are you looking with Blake Griffin, Aldridge, both Harrell and Harris, Draymond? Like, it's kind of like an ugly mess for me in that group.
I'm very intrigued by this San Antonio Minnesota game. I think Aldridge can really take advantage of Taj, and then even when Dario Saric steps on the floor. If you look at the 3 games he's played against Minnesota this year, he's averaged 36 fantasy points, only 13.5 actual points, shooting 36% from the floor. So if we get like anything better than that, I mean, we could be looking at like a ceiling LaMarcus Aldridge, not 76, 56 actual ceiling, but like, 50, and at 7.6, I think that's good. I don't necessarily love Blake tonight. I don't hate him. It's just going to be another slate where I think he just goes overlooked and he goes for 60, and then we're wondering why we didn't play him. But I again, like in a cash game, I'm going to play Holiday. In a tournament, I'm probably going to look to potentially shove in a multiple Warriors or multiple Pelicans, multiple Portland Trailblazers, and you can't really afford to do that with Blake. And then after that, it's like Harrell tournament, Tobias Harris, like not comfortable with him, based on like Golden State's ability to just blow everyone out right now. Tournaments, Draymond, tournaments, Aaron Gordon, you can't trust for cash games, even though he's been more consistent of late. Tournaments. This next tier is just like full of tournament guys for me. And then, like, until probably what? Aminu? You could probably trust in cash games here?
Yeah, I did throw Jason Tatum in a cash game lineup.
Okay.
For him, I liked, and again, I don't know exactly if this was just Brad Stevens proving a point or whatnot, but I like that against Brooklyn, like he still got all that late run in the blowout. And he's pretty much playing consistent 30 minutes a night, really, anyways. And if they do blow it out, like he's still giving you 25 to 30 fantasy points as a floor for the majority of the time. So I put Tatum in a cash game lineup. I think he's probably safe for it. I like Aminu. I agree with you on that call. You talk about a lot of pace-up spots. This excuse me, a good spot for him, I think, as well. And this is a guy that, again, I like because he doesn't rely on the scoring. He gives you pretty much every other stat. And then if the scoring comes, then he goes off for 40, 35 fantasy points and kind of helps you out there. In chat, someone asked about JaMychal Green if I was on him again. I said yes. Even in his roll off the bench, he's still giving you, some nice upside production. If this game gets blown out, he's probably still going to see a decent amount of minutes. And if Jackson gets in foul trouble, he gets on the floor. So I still like JaMychal Green at 5,600. I know the price is definitely boosted up on him over on FanDuel and on DraftKings. Green's priced out at 5,300, so kind of up there as well. But I still think he is a decent little play.
I love the production. I just I'm maybe having a mental block with the price tag. Like, I agree, he should see the run and blowout too, and it kind of feels that way. Memphis is just not playing very well right now. Boston's coming off that huge win against Toronto, where they've after losing 3 straight games. So it kind of seems like that was the momentum shifting win for the Celtics, and they're just going to go on some crazy tear, which is scary. But you're right. Green will get the run, but 5,600, 5,300.
It's a lot. I agree, and this is really FanDuel because on DraftKings you can be obviously a lot more creative with who you put in these forward spots. So it is tough right now. And the thing is, I don't like any of the cheaper power forward options on FanDuel. They just don't appeal to me. You mentioned Taj Gibson on the podcast. Sure, I think you can throw him in there. You could probably throw Marcus Morris back in GBPs. I know he's been disappointing of late. But he did have 22 points, actual points against Memphis. A couple weeks ago against them. So maybe he gets back in play. But it's just kind of gross. Do you trust Karukas? Are we spinning the wheel of unknown, undisclosed minutes limits on Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
Not a chance.
Yeah, right.
Not with that psychopath head coach.
No, so the lower tier power forward is scary. Maybe James Johnson is a little bit intriguing, knowing Josh Richardson's ruled out. Maybe, but it's just ugly here at power forward on FanDuel.
He's free. Is he min salary on FanDuel?
He's 37.
That's a handout that you could take. We've seen upside from this guy in the past. Has he had a good year? No, but that'd be something I'd be willing to take. Again, Miami kind of seems sneaky here, and maybe not sneaky, but outside of Winslow Johnson, the rest of that team kind of is super sneaky.
Yeah, I agree with you. Over at center, Towns is the top price guy. Again, he's probably not going to go own.
Not the top play, though.
He's not. He's not the top play. Gobert, not the top play. For us, it's Vucevic at the top price play. Against Brooklyn, they haven't played each other this year, but I honestly feel like we're staring 60 fantasy points in the face right now. If we play Vucevic, he's averaging 45 on the year. He's gone for 40. The last couple of games, we've already seen him go for 60. We've seen him go for 70 this year. So this is just a matchup I'm expecting him to crush. So if you're paying up at center, Vucevic's my guy. It's Cousins, I think, for GPPs, and it's Zizic and Cash. I think those are the 3 centers that I'm looking at. Yes, I know there's more guys in the middle tier. There's Horford, which I think you play in cash games. Nurkic is someone that we have projected to be pretty highly owned. I don't know how you feel about that against New Orleans. But that's my take on the center position. Thoughts there? Do you agree, disagree? Anybody else you're looking at?
Yeah, it's Vucevic, Gobert, Nurkic at the top. I think there is merit to Nurkic's ownership because that game total, the pace of the game. I think this game is going to be popular because nobody knows what to make of Golden State the Golden State team, and no one knows what to think of the Clippers. So the next game with the highest total is Portland, New Orleans. So you just, theoretically, you just pivot right there. So I like Nurkic, but if you just want to avoid that, like, you could just go to Ante Zizic, like you said, who's 37 and 42, or right 42 on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's 42.
I mean,
how much does he worry you in this matchup? Like, the minutes are obviously going to be there, and if you look at the last 3 games in which he's played over 20 minutes against New Orleans, Houston, and Portland, he's gone for 20, 33, and 33 fantasy points. He played 21 minutes against Memphis. He put up 21 fantasy points. So pretty much any time he's playing over 20 minutes, he's playing about a point per minute player.
Yep.
But this is Gobert. This is a 15.5 point spread. I guess he plays regardless of a blowout, so maybe that benefits him as well because Gobert will be off the floor.
I mean, if you look at the matchups he's played in 20 minutes, and I'm not necessarily saying that it was against the Stars, but 27 minutes against Portland, Nurkic is there. 24 minutes against Houston. I still believe Capella was healthy at that point.
Yeah.
20 minutes against New Orleans. They have, Davis and Randall. And then 12-26, 22 minutes against Memphis, who has Marc Gasol, JaMychal Green, Jaren Jackson. And these are the most productive games. So, like, he doesn't get really in foul trouble. I'm sorry. Knocking on wood. My dogs are probably now going to go crazy because I just knocked. But, like, he seems pretty safe when he gets the minutes, and he's free, and he's starting, and even in blowouts, he's going to get the run, which we know is going to happen. 15-point spread. So, yeah, I mean, you've already said it. Like, he was a first-round pick of Boston, right? He went in the first round. He was very highly touted overseas. He didn't pan out originally, and Boston said, you know what, let's trade him and stockpile more picks.
It's not even that he didn't work out. He just didn't have an opportunity. They just traded him too soon. He was there for a year playing overseas, and then when it was ready for him to, like, come over, they traded for Kyrie. So we were supposed to get Zizic last year and have him as our center or our backup center, and they just dealt him. So we never got a chance to actually watch him in Boston. I guess if you want to talk about maybe another mid-price punt play, would be Aaron Baines. Like, he came back from injury the other day and put up 17 fantasy points against Toronto. I think there's possible there for him to come off the bench and still be a productive player. So, or if you think that, Mo Bamba off the bench, he's expected to return if he gets active. Again, this is still centers against the Nets, and you look at his games where he's playing like 18 to 20 minutes. Again, he's like a fancy point per minute player. You give that a little bit of a bump given the matchup. Maybe he's another mid-price guy to look at.
Yeah, Baines probably I think both are probably just FanDuel only because you could just drop the score.
I agree. Any final thoughts here?
Centers against Brooklyn.
Centers against Brooklyn. I like it. Before we go, going to give a shout out to our producer today, Matt Sells, nominated for the FSTA NASCAR Writer of the Year award. He's a finalist for that. So congrats, Sells. We'll be rooting for you. Hopefully you take that home because we have really good NASCAR content, and you guys are interested in that. I made a pretty penny playing those lineups out of him. So congrats to him. But that wraps up the live stream for today, everybody. We're in subscriber chat, answering your questions to Lineup Block. Some pivots will be coming out to those lineups that have been released. So we'll catch you guys later.
Later, guys. Good luck tonight.